Welcome to Legends in Leadership, brought to you by ISF and the Carrington Group. Legends in Leadership is an inspirational podcast featuring the stories of leaders who are making a difference. Our goal is to inspire you with the stories of leaders who come from humble beginnings, overcome challenges, and ultimately rise up to make a difference in people's lives.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to Legends in Leadership. Excited to be back after a couple weeks off and joined by my co-host, Dr. Blair Ritchie, Executive Director of the International Student Foundation. Welcome back.
Hey, it's great to be back.
Yes, yeah. Well, as we do each episode, we're going to kick things off with a bit of leadership trivia. We are fascinated by the stories of leaders who come from humble beginnings, rise up to meet the challenges, and ultimately achieve greatness. So, Dr. Blair, what do you have for us today?
Well, Jason, today, for those of us who love the game of golf, is a very interesting day. And, it's the second week of November. And yet today is actually the first round of the Masters golf tournament. Usually that tournament is played in April amidst flowering azaleas, but with a pandemic and forcing everything to be changed, it now is teeing up here in November. So today's legendary leader was actually the founder of both the Masters tournament and the famed Augusta National Golf Club, where it's played. He actually took up golf as a young boy in the midst of battling some serious health issues. And he became a bit of a child prodigy, and yet he chose to remain an amateur golfer and never became a professional. He held academic degrees from Georgia Tech, Harvard, and Emory Law School. He joined his father's law firm and actually played golf on the side, but he played it rather well, winning 13 major championships in 21 attempts, including both the United States Open and the British Open. He retired from competitive golf at the ripe old age of 28, but had become the most influential leader in the sport. Desiring a little bit of privacy so he could play golf in quiet and anonymity, he and some friends purchased a little piece of a Georgia plantation where they designed and constructed what would become one of the most famous private golf courses in the world. And every year they would open their little private course to the world. And he remained one of the most beloved ambassadors of golf until his death in 1971. So who was this legendary leader? I'll be back at the close of today's program and see if any of us know the answer to that one.
Retiring in your late 20s, huh? Well, I am very excited to welcome our guest, Chandler Crouch, to the podcast today. He is the founder and principal broker of Chandler Crouch Realtors. After starting his career as an investor buying and remodeling houses, he transitioned exclusively to helping others buy and sell real estate as a realtor. With 18 years of experience, he now manages an award-winning brokerage with almost 200 five-star reviews and has been recognized in the Wall Street Journal in their list of top 200 agents in America. Also recognized in Keller Citizen Newspaper Best of the Best Award and voted top realtor in Fort Worth. One of Chandler's passions is helping people. He looks for opportunities for his company to serve their local community and make a positive impact in the people's lives. In recent years, Chandler led the cause to help homeowners protest their property tax values. Since 2017, Chandler and his team have protested on over 40,000 properties and helped countless others through video instruction and guiding people to protest their own, all free of charge. Chandler was moved by stories of hardship due to exorbitant property taxes, so he began searching for a permanent solution. This led to his involvement to help elect quality leaders at the appraisal district locally and work in collaboration with the state representative, Matt Krause, to successfully pass an amendment to reform our property tax laws. Married since 2006, Chandler and his wife, Megan, reside in Fort Worth, and they have 3 children. So welcome to the show. Definitely a pleasure to have you. I've actually been a beneficiary of your services for 3 years now. And so I'm excited to be able to personally thank you for the help that you've provided my family.
I'm excited to be here, and I did not think to look at what the results must have been or were on the tax protest we did for you, but I suppose they couldn't have been too bad if I'm now on the podcast. So
They were definitely lower, So any tick down is a good tick. So did want to back up a little bit, as our show is focused on understanding the leadership journey of people like yourself and get to know you a little bit. And first question is, what were some early influences in your life that showed you what leadership is about?
Let's see here. My father is, I can think of one. There's another guy I met along the way. So I'll just tell you about my dad. And specifically when my dad was working in the oil and gas industry, I remember where he would go and just do whatever it took to get the job done. And so at times I know he took a job in Abilene, and we live in the Fort Worth area. And so he would drive 3 hours, go to work for a few days, and then come home on the weekends. And that was pretty impressive. But I didn't really get it at the time because I was just a little kid. But what I remember is one time he got laid off, and it was like the very next day he woke up and went to work doing something else. And I just, now reflecting on that, that was just something that I don't know that I could do if I had put so much effort out into building a career, and then all of a sudden wake up, go to work one day, and my job is just all of a sudden not there. And then just to decide I was going to wake up the next day and go to work, even if it's a humble job, something that's most people I think would be considered beneath them. That, and then also I remember every single weekend he would go see his mom, and those two things really just stuck with me, and it just spoke to his character.
A lot of commitment to do the right thing for the right people.
Yep, that's it.
I'm curious, in your journey, clearly you have an entrepreneurial bend to you. What would you say was a point where you began to discover your interest in business, entrepreneurship, and what led you to pursue that?
That's a great question. It comes back to my family. I think in high school, my brother started a lawn service, and I think I just kind of wanted to be like him. And so I started a lawn service, and that really got me to think differently about how life could be done and how I could go out and earn an income. And then one of my clients at the time, I was mowing a car lot, and I would just always go into the car lot after I mowed their lawn at the car lot. And the guy there was, I don't know what his interests were outside of the car lot, but he recommended a book to me. And the book was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That really, it made an impact. It spoiled my academic career. After that, I just saw no purpose in going to school, but not because I don't see a purpose in school. I definitely see a purpose in school. I just knew that what I felt like God had for me was not going to be an academic pursuit or a profession that required credentials for, through a degree or whatever. So that was a big deal, and that set me on a different path. So
that was in college. Then you decided to put a fork in the road and go a different route.
Well, that was it. That was my junior year of high school, and I didn't make any decision at that point. It exposed me to new ideas and a new way of thinking, and so I just never was the same after that. I couldn't view anything the same way, and so as I was just going to school, or I would go to a job, I just was always asking myself what the deeper purpose is in what I'm doing, or where that might be leading, and it just got me thinking on a different level.
Mm-hmm. So for folks that might not be familiar with the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book and phenomenon that followed, how would you summarize the takeaways for you that were so life-changing in that book?
I don't know if it was really the stuff that the book taught that really got me thinking in an entrepreneurial way, but it did. It was just exposing me to the ideas. I know in the book he talks about his rich dad was, not a college educated guy, and I'm not here to bash on college at all, but he just had the intelligence of how to operate and run a business. And he talks a lot about assets and liabilities, and how assets are things that, and he kind of redefined the term. So, take it for what it is, but he said assets as it relates to cash flow are things that add money to your pocket every day, or they grow in value. And the liabilities, according to his definition, were things that take money out of your pocket every day, or they at least don't grow in value. They diminish in value. And so just thinking about that and thinking about a concept that he brought to my mind about passive income was a big deal. Mm-hmm. And, I started thinking about passive income and thinking about, whether I wanted to be an employee or a business owner or an investor. I have since really kind of quit thinking about passive income just because I realized so much of what I'm going to do is going to be active. I'm going to be involved, and I'm going to work hard no matter what, just because I'm always drawn to it as much as I don't want to be. I wake up and I go to work and I work hard, and that's just the way I'm wired. So, but those are some concepts I got out of the book.
And so how did that transition into your start in the real estate investment? When did that come about?
Well, that really did plant the seed for it. Wow. There are so many different stories, and just to kind of keep it short, I was really at that time lost. I got exposed to this new world of entrepreneurship and a different way of thinking. I didn't find my purpose in school, but growing up, I was taught that to be successful, you have to go to college. And so whenever I decided that I didn't want to waste my parents' money or my money by going to school, I pulled myself out of that. And so kind of part of my compass was shattered at that point. They had told me that that's how I had to be successful. Also at the time, I was really questioning everything. I went to one of my first jobs was at Denton State School. It's a MHMR mental health clinic or house where a bunch of folks live that have mental challenges. And so I got exposed to a different world there, and it was more so the workers there and seeing what people are like, just seeing beauty in humanity and ugliness. And it was just through that. And I didn't have any faith at the time. I was agnostic in faith because things had to make sense for me. I was just really lost. And so that led me to a moment where I said, okay, I've got to, and I was just partying a lot because I had no reason to do anything else. So I just said, I got to get my head straight. I moved away, spent some time by myself, found Jesus. And from about that point forward, it's been a straight line where I just, all of a sudden, like some lessons and different things from my upbringing and from the Rich Dad Poor Dad book and the direction of seeds that were planted, they all started to make sense. And I found more purpose. And it was just, one day I was, I'd saved up a little bit of money, and I set aside a 2-week time frame where I was going to decide what career I was going to take in life. And I prayed about it and went in and paid my rent at my apartment one day. It was the cheapest apartment I could find because I was lowering my liabilities. Because Rich Dad told me he said, that's what you do. Anyway, went and paid my rent. The landlord said, hey, would you like to help me start a real estate company? And I took it as a sign and hopped in, and the rest is history.
Wow. I really appreciate you sharing the fact that there was a time in your life where things weren't just clear and obvious to you, because I think a lot of folks really come to understand the success people have. It's sort of the iceberg effect. They see that last 10% where things do come together and they do start to take off. And Dr. Blair and I talk on and off about how it's that 90% of the work, and the idea of this overnight success is, you heard about me just last night, right? But it's been years of work and effort to get to that tipping point.
Well, and to be without a compass is a scary thing in life. And I think it's fascinating that we all need to find that compass. Otherwise, we just get lost. And I'm curious a little bit, just to know a little bit of the backstory of how that compass has guided you with regards to a pivot in your life.
This is a great transition, guys. Y'all are doing good. Okay, because I wasn't planning on talking about any of this stuff, but I'm happy to talk about anything. So the compass really, and just I've already mentioned, faith in Jesus. That's I don't look at it as a weird thing. I look at it as it's just part of my true story. If I'm being honest about it, that's really what it is. I believe everybody's got a good side of them and a bad side, and it depends on what you feed, and so. But at the time where I had no faith at all, it was the most miserable time of my life. I had no compass. I had no direction, no purpose. And so finding the purpose really was the answer to a lot. And so the way that translates into the career was whenever I started, I thought, I want to start a business, make a ton of money, and then go help a bunch of people. And that was my plan. And, talk about the iceberg thing. My plan was, I had a 5-year plan. I'm going to, make all the money in the world. And then in 5 years, retire and then go help people. And
right.
God had different plans. And really, goal setting is a challenge, because I set a goal out and I said, hey, I want to accomplish this goal. Well, 3, 4, 5 steps into that goal, I realized that the vantage point that I have once I'm on the path, it lets me know, well, that goal was nice to get me started, but now the real goal needs to be, it's somewhere else. It's maybe even further. And so that the iceberg effect is really huge. I mean, I've been doing this for 18 years now, still on the same path. God's plan is different. God wants me to help a whole bunch of people while I'm doing whatever I'm doing. And the money thing is just a byproduct. It's not, that's not, his timeline is not contingent on any sort of money thing, but seeking guidance and finding purpose and waking up one day and not just doing what I feel like doing, but doing something that's in line with a purpose makes all the difference in the world. It's really everything.
And it really speaks to your efforts to help folks with the property tax protests. I'm curious how it came to be that was the hill you planted the flag on. So this is how I can help people.
That's a great question. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, started doing this, and it did not start with tax protests. What it started as was a gamble that me and my wife were feeding homeless people out in Fort Worth, and somebody came and made a $300 donation. And it was like Christmas Day for those folks. They could make that $300 go so far. And I was just shocked at that. Then Monday, I went to work and I'm spending thousands of dollars on mailers without blinking an eye. And I just started thinking, surely if there was a way for me to funnel that money towards something that is money starved, and if all I'm doing is looking for a way to serve and add value and contribute, then and if I do it with some amount of strategy, I'll be able to justify the expense just like I did with the mailers, and I'll be able to make a much bigger impact. And so from that point on, I set out to focus on serving the local community, local charities, or local businesses. And so I did a number of things. I was helping Girl Scouts. I started a community group out here and just was doing different little things that had to line up with those areas. And then, it was like April 4th, somebody got on the Facebook group that we had created for a group that it was, they didn't have a Facebook group before. It was like a 5,000 member subdivision. So it just made sense to help foster community in that way. Anyway, somebody got on, posted about questions they had about tax protest stuff. And I had plenty of experience protesting my own properties for property tax purposes. And so I got on, answered a couple questions, and then the questions just kept coming in, and then I would answer more, and I didn't have enough time in the day. So I just kind of locked myself in a room for the weekend and made a video and sent the video out. And then that thing took off and got like, 20, 30,000 views just in Tarrant County, I would assume. And then we didn't have enough time in the day to help people by giving them the research. And then we noticed we would do research to arm people with what they could use to go protest on their own. But they wouldn't follow through with it. So I just said, you know what? It's more work to try and teach everybody this. And then they're not doing it. There's still some kind of barrier. I said, so forget it. I'm going to just stick my neck out there and we'll just start doing it for people. Mm-hmm. And that's then, I just was stuck my neck out there, and I didn't know what it looked like on the other side of that decision. I just thought, how bad could it be? I'll endure a lot of pain for 1 year. And then it worked out where, it wasn't so bad. And so then, I helped like 1,200, 1,500 people the first year. And then the next year it doubled. And then it's just blown up. So this past year we protested for about 20,000 people.
So how bad can it be? Question.
Yeah. It can be bad.
On that, as I can see a couple of ways. I mean, people were charging for this service before you came along, and have begun to do it at no cost to help people. And also on the how bad it can be front, I'm curious if you've gotten pushback or sort of been stonewalled by the folks that benefit from the current property tax process.
Well, Great question. So there are property tax consultants and tax agents out there that charge for these services, and I don't have a problem with that at all. They're out there providing a beneficial service for people. It's a valuable service. In fact, I think, and the expertise is valuable. I say they should charge as much as they can if that's whatever the market bears for their services. I don't have any problem with that at all. I think more people need to be out there helping folks. The fact that I choose to do it for free is just part of the free market. I don't know. I know there's 2 other people I know are doing it for free, and the next guy in line helped maybe 200 people or so. And I mean, they're out there doing incredible work, but it's just nobody's doing what we're doing. There's been a little bit of pushback. Largely, I've received a ton of help. There's a guy, the property tax lot guys. They're legends in this, and they earn a fee for this, and they drove out to my office just because they love what I was doing, and they were just giving free advice, just telling me, "Hey, man, do this, do that, do this, that." And I've reached out and asked them questions, and not just them. There's I could give you a list of tax consultants that have just helped because they genuinely care about helping people, and the fee is a byproduct. And I send them a lot of referrals if I don't do whatever niche
Sure.
thing, I'll send it. But I've caught a little bit of anytime you take business away from somebody, they feel threatened. They shouldn't, though. The pie is so big. There's so many people protesting. The problem is so big. The people that I've been friendly with, they've gained in return. But we've got some hate out there. Somebody made up some kind of a fake class action lawsuit. It's just a fake thing. It's a smear thing, and it's sad that somebody would do that. I'm sad for them. I don't know what their Friday nights look like, but if they're going to be that concerned about me, whatever. I
think there's some interesting quotes from a variety of authors and leaders that talk about you're really not doing anything worthwhile if you haven't stirred up some level of response.
Yep.
But I love it. You just start out saying, I want to help people, right? And then, okay, here's what I'm doing. And you kind of figuring it out as you go, what that looks like. So it does start with the heart, though, doesn't it? I mean, it starts with saying, I want to make a contribution. And then once you kind of just make that commitment, then you just kind of wait and see what happens next. Do you have any advice for people who have that kind of heart about how to, what does it take to follow through and actually make a difference like you're making?
And that's a great question. And I can't say that I've always been in a position where I would see a need like that and just decide I'm going to help people regardless of the consequences. And also, I also think that there is an intelligence to giving and charity and serving. It's not just about going out there and offering yourself up for free and just doing whatever anybody asks for. Although I think if your heart is in that place, you're probably better off than if you're just concerned about what you could lose. So I know whenever I got in real estate, I did not close a deal for 6 months, and I worked with several clients, but it was through that I decided no matter what, I was going to stay in real estate. But it wasn't. I thought about quitting so many times. I was just faced with that decision, and it eventually, in hindsight, I believe it was God shaping my heart, saying, "Look, if you're in this for the money, you're doing it for the wrong reason. And I'm about to show you, you've got to stay the course. You're not going to make anything, So there are those decisions that help just calibrate. And I don't know that that's something that I could really force. I could teach. I think it's something you have to learn on some level. But, even doing this, it's something where if after this first or second year, I mean, I'm talking about faith a whole lot, but it's just part of the true story of, what's gone into it. After the first or second year, I looked at how much time I'd spent, how much money I spent, and how many deals I closed because of it. Because it must be funded by something. Either I've got to get donations or I've got to close real estate deals. It's just the way it is. And it did not make financial sense for me to continue. And I literally just prayed that, God, if you want this thing to continue, you've got to open some doors, and it's got to be obvious because I really want to quit. And at about that time, some people at the appraisal district they just offered help for free. They were like, hey, the chief appraiser, the head residential guy, they said, hey, we're going to help. And they just would answer questions. And then Matt Krause, the politician, he sat down, bought my lunch and said, "Hey man, I love what you're doing. I want to help you." And I said, and I actually went to him. I was like, "Hey, how do we make a permanent change?" And he said, "Well, let's write a bill. You're in touch with what's going on. You see the problems. Let's just write a bill." And it just blew my mind that a politician would do that. And it was a sign from God for me. I was like, all right, let's just go one more year. And before you know it, here we go.
And the appraisal districts kind of get stuck in the crosshairs, right, of this political situation. I'm curious what the summary is of the bill that was brought to the Texas legislature and what the results from that were.
Well, there are a number of different philosophies that politicians have on how they're going to operate. And, some people believe, and I don't know, I'm new to all the political stuff. I don't enjoy it at all. But from what I understand, it's a lot easier to get incremental changes done. And so we didn't change the whole system overnight. I would like to in some ways, but the changes that we were able to implement did one thing was it now appraisal districts have most appraisal districts now keep a list of people like me that are willing to help people for free. I thought that was huge.
Yeah.
There was a conflict of interest issue where people that were employees at the appraisal district could serve in elected positions in entities that would benefit from the services and are in charge of hiring people at the appraisal district. That was a conflict of interest, and it got rid of that. The appraisal district has automatic processes to figure out if you are receiving exemption benefits, and they have an automatic process to identify folks that shouldn't be receiving those exemption benefits, but they don't have any automatic process to see if you should be receiving them and they're just not applied to your account. And so part of it was in the direction to help require appraisal districts to provide more communication, to let people know when they can apply for different exemptions and that sort of thing. I mean, and the list goes on, but it's just cleaning up the whole appraisal process in general. We've got a long way to go, but that's it. It was a start. And it was really cool to see actual change happen. So
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. And so from a true leadership role perspective, bringing people together, creating that team, it sounds like Matt Krause was a big help to doing that. The appraisal district has been a big help, but ultimately you taking the initiative to kickstart somewhat of a movement. I mean, 40,000 protests is a significant number, and I'm curious if there's a story or two in your mind that sticks out where, someone really just was able to have a big improvement in their situation, that the property tax bill was really just causing that big of a headache in their life.
I should be able to conjure up more stories than I have. I mean, there's so many times after a while, you just hear so many stories, they all bleed together. I mean, there's some really devastating stories out there. People call in my office every single day because they're getting taxed out of their home. Wow. And I'm not exaggerating. Every day I'm getting calls still. And I can cite, plenty of protests where somebody was being overvalued by 60, 70, 80, 90, 100,000. I think $300,000 was the record this year that we were able to get it down.
Wow.
The one thing that it just sticks out to me, and it's a personal story. It's not necessarily a success story, but it just gives you the level of impact. There's one lady that was very involved in her community. She was kind of like the hub in her community. And somehow she ran across one of our videos or something, and she called me and just said, "Hey, Chandler, I need your help. And I need you to help all my neighbors. These are people that don't know how to fight their taxes and protest their property tax values." And so anyway, I helped her. She was very involved for multiple years. And then this past year, I got a text message from her, and she was laying in the hospital bed. She said she had just recovered from brain cancer surgery, and she was in recovery, and she thought to text me because she wanted to make sure she was taking care of her property tax issues. And I just thought, man, the last thing that I want is for somebody in that kind of position that's so aware of the issues that she's had with her property tax value to be thinking about property taxes. Is just not right. And then I got a text recently within the past couple of weeks, this lady, and this is a somber thing, but she said, "Hey, I checked myself into hospice, and I just want you to take care of my husband. And I'm like, man, I mean, you just, why is the property tax guy getting a text like that? It's not right. But this is a real thing. It has a huge impact when she should be thinking about much more important things than this. But yet it registers on the radar for people because it's the difference between being able to pay a bill or not, and being able to, live freely, or wonder, how much is my value going to go up? Am I going to be able to afford to stay in this home? And, when it hits at that level, that of the fabric of, just being able to live, it's just not right. Something's got to change. So here I am. I'm the guy. I'm going to help.
It's interesting as I'm reviewing your story now. You start out saying, okay, God, I want to make a lot of money so I can help people. And then God says, wait a second, we're going to help people from the get-go and make that a way of life for you. And yet you mentioned you got to still have money to pay the bills and do that. So talk a little bit. It's not an either or situation, is it, with regards to helping people and having a profitable business? It's a both and. Talk about navigating that and just how's that working for you?
Well, how's it working? It's a lot more profitable now than it was, but I mean, still, if it was just a profitable pursuit, I couldn't justify it. It's a passion, but if I did not have a profitable business, then I wouldn't be able to do this. And part of what I do is I train real estate agents, because I own the company. So I hire agents, train them. And if your job does not fund your life and does not fund the things that you're passionate about, if you can't serve your family, your faith, and the things that you really care about through the income that you're making, then you're on the wrong path. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter if you're out there feeding people like Mother Teresa or whatever, that somebody somewhere had to pay for the goods or the service that are being used. And if you're a nonprofit, you have to go beg for the money. And I say that, raise money, whatever, but there's a fundraising side of the business.
Absolutely.
And for me, it's the same thing. I just believe that I've seen the real difference that we've been able to make in homeowners' lives whenever we're able to help them buy or sell a house and achieve their goals at the highest level possible. And then I've seen the impact I can make in a real estate agent's life when they don't know anything about real estate, and I come teach them everything from A to Z, and then now they can support themselves and support their family in a highly profitable way. Then the level of good that we can do is so big. It's just huge. And the money aspect is necessary. You have to be able to fund this stuff. If profit, in fact, it's my duty to make sure we're as profitable as we possibly can be. At the same time, if I have other passions, I've got to serve those as well. If I have a higher meaning for something, I've got to serve that as well. So my focus on it is, God has bigger things, bigger concerns than money, but money is kind of like air or water. It's necessary. And if you want to do big things, you have to have more of it. And the more you have, the more you can help. And it all just kind of fits together. So not a straight line answer, but that's kind of
very well put. Very well put.
Well, as we wrap up here, Chandler, I want to know, number one, how can people find you and your real estate business? And also share with us, what do you see on the horizon from the property tax ongoing efforts, both in your own personal efforts and also at the state level? What do you see on the horizon there?
Well, the way you can get in touch with me is just Google Chandler Crouch. I think my name probably shows up on the screen, but just Google that. And something to keep in mind, if you look at the reviews that we have out there, think about how many people we're helping and how many 5-star reviews we have. I'm absolutely blown away. But you couldn't be doing anything but good business and have that kind of reputation. So there's that. For the forecast of where the property taxes are going, I would say in Tarrant County specifically, just buckle your seatbelt. Property values are going to skyrocket. This year, right now, the real estate market has the lowest level of inventory of homes than all the records in the MLS from as far back as it dates. So as far back as they keep, I think it's 10 years or so. So what that means is if they brought no new properties on the market, it would take less than a month for all the existing inventory to sell off. It is a super hot market. The demand is off the charts. the supply is really low, so prices are jumping up. That means as long as their property tax system stays the way it is, then values are going to climb, and there's just no limit to it. The big thing that I'm going to push this year, and I'm going to talk to Matt Krause. We've already had a meeting. We're going to have another one. Talk to Jane Nelson's she's taken an action to help out. I'm going to see if I can get a meeting with her. Who knows? And if you're a politician, you want to meet. I'm not really interested in politics, but the bill that I want to get passed is this. I believe that we should, number one, lower the annual increase amount. So right now for homestead exemption. So right now it's at a 10% increase per year is the maximum. I want to lower that to 5%. And I believe we can get it done. And then the other thing is I believe that all single family residential properties should have an exemption where the value increase can't be more than 15% per year, just as a starting point. And Andy Hopper, if you get elected, he's going to champion it. I don't like politics, but yeah, it's kind of like the money thing. It's like, if you want real change, you have to change the laws in this area. And so it is what it is. So hopefully we can get those things passed.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you having on the show and your time to share a little bit about yourself and the fantastic things you have going on. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So Dr. Blair, we'll turn it back over to you for the answer.
Yeah. Okay. This is a golf guy. So you guys aren't, if you're golf guys or you're not golf guys, the name of today's legendary leader is Robert T. Bobby Jones Jr. Bobby Jones is a hero to all golfers and kind of the founder of all of the fun stuff that's going on this weekend.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Dr. Blair. Well, folks, that's a wrap for our podcast episode today. On behalf of Dr. Blair, I want to wish you a good day. And remember this, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are a leader.
Legends in Leadership is brought to you by the Carrington Group. Carrington Group is a family office with a passion for helping business leaders and their families make smart choices and fulfill their highest aspirations. To learn more about the Carrington Group, visit their website at www.carringtonfo.com or Google Carrington Group, Dallas, Texas. ISF is committed to leadership development for aged-out foster care and orphaned youth. ISF's mission is to transform these youth into tomorrow's leaders with scholarships, mentoring, and leadership training. To learn more about ISF, visit their website at isfsite.org or Google International Student Foundation to learn more.
Securities offered through Regulus Advisors, LLC. Member FINRA/SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Regal Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors are affiliated entities. Carrington Group and this broadcast are independent of Regulus Advisors and Regal Investment Advisors.